Hello, this is Kimberly Cohen, and I'm the host of Exec Edge, powered by Uniqua AI. I'm your host, and each week we do a deep dive into the strategies, technologies, and leadership mindsets that give modern executives their competitive advantage. Today, we're exploring the intersection of human psychology and the bottom line. As we navigate into the 2026 business landscape, and actually it's almost mid-year now, defined by rapid AI integration, this question isn't just how we scale our tech, but how we scale our people. Joining us today is a leader who is redefining the human in human resources. She's the founder and CEO of Thrive HR, a Kansas City powerhouse that champions HR with heart. Please welcome Kelly Price.
Hi, thank you so much.
Hi, Kelly. Thanks so much for joining us today. Really appreciate you being on the podcast. So, what I would love to know a little bit about, just as we're diving right in, is how you got to where you're at now with your business, and what made you sort of pivot from hospitality into what you're doing currently.
Yeah, absolutely. So after college, I got my degree in hospitality. I moved around a little bit and worked for Marriott for a couple of years, and I loved it, but honestly just didn't love the schedule. So started looking for something with a little bit more of standard out business hours schedule and landed in recruiting, which once I got into recruiting, I found that people in retail and hospitality are such great fits there because they already kind of understand the intersection of business and people. And I really loved putting the pieces of the puzzle together and learning, my gosh, somebody does this all day long for a company. So just started getting kind of my brain and even my heart kind of working in sync because it was giving people the ability to provide income for their families and do something that added value for their lives and for the business. And then went over to a startup of an organization that my current company's owner started, and it was a total left turn. So I was working in the propane industry and he started a dental business. So I got exactly, I knew nothing about the dental industry, but got over there as the recruiting and benefits manager. And very quickly after working there, they lost their director of HR. So I just started doing it and really learned in the School of Hard Knocks, also getting myself SHRM certified and then reaching out to people that I knew way more than I did. So 8 years later, I left there as the VP of Human Resources and grew the company from about 200 people to about 800 people in 10 locations to 33 locations. So that was an incredible experience. And from there, that's where I really learned and loved to build and to take it apart and put it back together. And even prior to working in that organization, I worked in a recruiting agency that had never been profitable before. So we got into that business and again, same thing, took it apart, put it back together. And I remember the first time our regional manager ran into our office and said, "We made $4." Yes. I
That's
mean,
the
we were
best
like this
$4 ever. That's the best Happy Meal.
absolutely ever. I got a half a Starbucks. Yeah, no, it was so exciting though to know that like we're doing it. This is
Right.
awesome. So through that, and then after I left the dental industry, I went to a bank and it was the same story. It was someone I had worked with previously called me up and said, "We need to rework this HR department. Will you come and rebuild it with me?" And we went from 4 to 2 to 8. And the company went from about 200 to about 500 in that time period. So just getting to be a part of that growth and that business alignment with the people function just really excites me. It brings me a ton of joy, makes me very motivated, and it makes me excited to work with the people who it impacts. And I really found that when I worked in the smaller businesses versus the larger businesses, I loved working with the owners and the leaders because you're making real impact. In a larger organization, there's so many levels to go through and there's so much red tape. And it's like, how fast can we even make this decision where when you've got a couple hundred person and you're working directly with the CEO or the owner, they're like, "Let's do it." And then you just get to start executing. In 2022, I left corporate America and started my own business and originally just started in a fractional HR role, which is basically sitting in the HR seat at an organization. And I did that for a while, but really found that I was missing the building part. The day-to-day HR wasn't what really got me excited and where my talent really lied. It really was in building. So I made some changes to my organizational structure, built an audit process. I now have an AI audit tool that I use with my clients to help them figure out what they're doing well, what they're not doing well, and what kind of processes and policies and programs should be built to help align their business and their people strategies. And then we have actually 100% conversion from audit to post-audit work over the last
Wow.
2 years, which has been just so awesome and so much fun. And it started with just me, and I have 8 consultants now, and I'm actually down in Florida now, but we have clients in Florida, New York, Texas, and Kansas and Missouri. So it's
Awesome.
been just awesome, a ton of fun.
Yeah, that's great. That what a fantastic trajectory, and that you've found, your niche, the where you find the most joy in the size of the company that you work with. Because we work our whole lives trying to figure out what that offer is, what that niche is, and that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. And for you to have found that sweet spot and be able to monetize it is huge, obviously. And so,
Yes.
coming from the hospitality world, what is the one hospitality mindset lesson that you brought into the corporate HR world that most leaders miss?
There's some flexibility on how this is applied. However, it really is nobody cares why it happened, just fix it. Like you think
Mhm.
about I was a front desk manager, front office manager in hotels. So if somebody came and there's something wrong in their room, they don't give a crap why it was wrong. They
They
just
do
want it
not.
fixed.
Right.
No, don't waste any time making them listen to that.
Right.
So I think that's very easily applied to business. Again, there's some flexibility because you have to reflect, you have to take ownership, you have to have conversations, especially in HR, to say, why did this go wrong? Is it a system or is it a person process and an issue? And then fix those things and maybe educate the people on why it went wrong because they didn't know what they did to fix it.
Mhm.
But conceptually, if you've got customer or an internal or an external customer who's saying this is a problem, at that moment, you want to be supportive and say, okay, let's get it fixed. And especially in HR, it can't always be like, okay, we're going to do exactly what you want.
Right.
And that's also the beauty of consulting because I'm not stuck in that seat internally where if
Right.
I tell them I can't do what you want or I can, but we shouldn't do what you want. I'm just doing my job.
Right.
Whereas opposed to if I'm the internal HR person, that can be much more challenging.
Sure. Yeah, there's the internal politics of it. And you've got sort of a wall of protection maybe in terms of how you're able to insulate yourself in your role as a fractional versus all of the internal stuff that goes along with making those tough calls, maybe to people who don't want to hear about it. Like you said, they don't
Yes.
want to hear
Yeah.
about the why or the mechanics or how we're going to fix it. They just want it done no matter what. So
Right.
yeah, I can see why that would be really nice. And then you've got that wall of protection and that you are the fractional, so you are able to deliver that news. And it's probably expected that you would, because I remember, being in corporate America, oh my gosh, 25 years ago, and there would come in somebody to do, make the hardest decisions. I was part of a layoff ages and ages ago. Before, I mean, people are getting laid off left, right, and center now, but this was a really big deal back then. And there was a guy who had to come in from out of the blue from outside and make some really tough decisions just based on numbers and metrics. And there was
Yeah.
really no human aspect to it. And I really sympathize with the guy having to do that. And obviously with, my colleagues who were laid off. But you do have a bit of protection there because you can, say that you're relying on the metrics. But it seems to me that because you have that hospitality background that you more value the people.
Percent. And when I'm engaging with the client, I often tell them at the very beginning a couple of things. If it's the owner or the executive, I'll say, I'm going to give you options of what you could and should do.
Right.
You own the business, so you
Exactly.
make the decision.
Yep.
And I'll tell you what the repercussions are of that decision if it's not what I would recommend to do. But I regularly will say to a client, I'm not going to die on this hill. However, this is what I want you to do. In my perfect world, this is what you would do. I
Exactly.
also regularly say, I need to share some thoughts with you. I need to give you my viewpoint of this or my opinion, and you may not like it. It might
Right.
make you mad. I have a client that I've worked with for 3 years, and we're very close, and she's wonderful, and I said, "I'm gonna say something to you that you might wanna hang up on me afterwards and tell me to, like, don't talk to you for a couple of days." And she's like, "Go ahead." It was a bit of "I told you so," like, of course, I would never say that, but it was, if we had done this, that we wouldn't be dealing with this, and we keep having the same conversation, so can we please just move forward and do this? And that was finally, "You're right, yes, let's do it."
Yeah, absolutely.
So, but I also say, I'm not doing my job if I don't say these things to you. Because
Right.
you do not need a yes person. You're not paying this premium price for a yes person. And if you are, then what a waste of money and time.
Yeah, absolutely. And good for you for setting that. I've often heard, we hear, armchair psychologists and psychiatrists talking about relating to people. And that reminds me of an adage that I've heard about setting boundaries. Like, if you set a boundary and the person gets upset about it, it was the right boundary to set. So if you're, maybe you're pressing on something that needs to be done or should have been done, and they don't want to hear about it for a minute, or maybe they need to sit on it and feel their feelings and get on with business, you definitely press the right button.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And multiple times have people said, "I'm not ready to talk about this." Excuse me, I'm sorry. They'll reflect and come back and say, "Okay, I still don't want to do this, but what about this?" And then we can work together and get something that makes sense and everybody feels good about. And
For sure.
even when I'm going into a department, often I'll come in, especially during the audit process, it's coming into someone who feels a little bit threatened because I am looking at the work that they're doing every single day. And the CEO or the CFO are like, "Get in there, figure it out. Tell us what we need to do." But this person who 99.9% of the time is very well intentioned and working hard. It's really building a relationship with them to say, "I am not here to demonize you. I am not here to get you fired. I am here to make your life easier and to give you the tools that you don't have. And I am going to be all up in your business for a while, but please know that I'm not asking you because I think you're dumb or incapable or any of those things. I'm asking because I genuinely don't know the answer. And I
Right.
want to know because I can't help you if I don't fully understand this." And there's still bumps in the road and there's still a lot of feelings conversations that we have during those audits, but I do find that it ends up building a whole bunch of trust and they end up giving me some insight on the politics of the business or how the business owners and managers run, so we can kind of figure out, like, okay, this is a constant problem, but it's not a this person problem, it's a system problem.
Right.
Or it's a this person problem over here that doesn't realize that they're causing a problem. So it's, if you don't have the ability to build those relationships and figure out the inner workings of the people within the office, you still can't, virtual or physical, but you still can't get the procedures and policies and programs built because they won't implement them or they won't see value in them.
Right. Yeah. And you have to do a bit of selling yourself, I'm sure. As
Yes.
far as selling those the new way of doing things. People don't like change. They don't like friction.
No.
There's constant movement, learning, and new information coming out. It seems like every day getting hit with that fire hose of information and change. So I'm sure that that's also a challenge. And coming from the outside, it's probably met sometimes with a little bit of skepticism. So
Yes.
yeah, that's definitely, I'm sure that's a challenge for you.
Yeah, that we've always done it this way.
The legacy mentality
Yes.
for sure.
Yes, and I can think of a client that we had a "we've always done it this way," and I had to say, "Well, that's illegal. It's literally illegal. You have to stop it right now." And they were not happy.
Fair.
You don't have to, but here are the repercussions of not doing it. You
Right.
hired me to tell you this stuff, so I'm telling you.
Exactly. Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
that's interesting.
Yeah.
Switching gears, just talking about, you were talking about innovation and all that, and talking in terms of technology. There's a lot of AI driven recruitment, screening tools, there's, auditing tools, things like that. How are you ensuring that the human and human resources doesn't get lost in the automation? Like, how are you using automation or AI? And then how are you ensuring that it doesn't take over the whole, the entire landscape of what you're doing?
Absolutely. There's so much opportunity for people to just outsource 100%, and I'm pretty convinced that AI has to become a part of your process. It has to, because you're going to fall so far behind if you don't adopt, but
Right.
you can't over adopt. It's all about appropriateness. And so educating most of the clients that I come into, they're using ChatGPT, they're using Claude. They might be using a couple of other things, but those are really the two that people are most comfortable with at this point. But taking those automated tasks, those things that are like writing a handbook or sorry, excuse me, writing a handbook or writing a policy or reviewing a job description or summarizing meetings. Like, we were having a conversation the other day about they're using Zoom for their meetings. And I said, "Are you using the AI companion that takes notes?" And they said, "No, I didn't know that was an option." Because she was saying, "I'm struggling listening and taking comprehensive enough notes because the position that they're interviewing for is someone that needs to have a JD, and they're very specific things that they need to have." And so I said, "Well, start using the Zoom companion and it will record everything that you're saying, and then you'll summarize your notes."
Right.
Those types of things, again, as long as you're using them appropriately and telling the person they're being recorded and doing all of those things that are required
Sure.
in the litigious world we live in right now, then are so incredibly helpful. So it's really about making sure that they're using it, again, appropriately. Should you use AI to write your performance review? Maybe part of it, but should it deliver it? No. Should you review it? 100%. Some of the feedback I've gotten from executives and leaders is that their HR people are using it without review. Like, had someone create a presentation and then just hit send and didn't look at it and didn't make sure the information is correct. And the thing that I have learned is that the one thing that AI and humans have in common is when there's a lack of information, they make things up.
Right. Yeah. The hallucinations.
Yes. Yes. So you can't do that. I just was using it to help me write a handbook earlier today, but I have to still read every single word and every single thing of it and every single page of it, because there are things I'm like, "I didn't write that. That's not the PTO policy. Where did it come up with that?" Delete, move that, reword things.
Yeah.
So it's a really amazing tool to help get manual tasks done faster. I had somebody tell me that AI should be 90-10, 90% you thinking, 10% AI thinking, and 90% AI doing, and 10% you doing in the appropriate tasks. And that's just such a good rule to keep in mind. And the last thing I'll say there is, I want people who are learning, well, all of us. AI is making us stupid, to say it plainly, right?
I
You,
thought that spell check was making me dumber until I started using some of the AI tools. And I was like, I've lost my ability to write prose in the manner that I'm used to writing it,
yes,
which
yes.
is crazy. And so I've kind of
So
had to shift
accurate.
back to practicing my prosaic writing and making sure that my daughter does too, because she's just entering the job market. And there's a lot of, these kids, I mean, they're adults, but they can vote. But these kids are using, the tools to the best of their ability, and they do need to learn how to use them. But they also need the critical thinking skills that go along with it to be able to analyze. And so, I've read some of her things that she's written in terms of, maybe an application, a job application, because they're not allowed to use AI at school. Period. They've got checkers on all that stuff, and they're
That's
really,
good.
unless they're teaching how to use AI, they are not allowed to use it in their papers or capstones and all that kind of stuff, which they don't need to. But when I'm seeing some of her applications, I always tell her the prompts, here's a writing style prompt, and then cite your sources on everything, and then go back and pull out the citations, but ensure that the citations are there in order to make sure that you are able to that you're not hallucinating. Because I work
Yes.
for a company, consulting, big time consulting firm, and they're very concerned about how much inroads AI is making in terms of consulting and such, but
Yeah.
there's always the hallucination factor. It's the garbage in, garbage out factor. That kind
Yep.
of that's really hindering people's ability to think critically. They can prompt, but maybe they're not thinking through what they're doing. And I feel like as an HR person, you're probably, or talent acquisition especially, that whole function is trying to figure out who is actually who they say they are and how they can best optimize the folks that are coming into the business to help them with their mission critical priorities. So yeah,
I
that's very
can't Yeah, I can't agree with that more, Kimberly. And I think that I don't think I know, there's an art to reviewing a resume and understanding if it's a good fit for a position. And really great recruiters have that art mastered, where there's just something about the combination of this person's experience,
Mhm.
especially after you do a phone screen with them, that you're like, they don't have the exact keywords that AI would pick up on their resume, but they're a great fit for the organization or for the position or for another position.
They don't even get a shot.
And no, absolutely. And I mean, do you remember 10 years ago when AI was put into applicant tracking systems and
Mhm.
people got excited about it, but we quickly turned it off because we're like, this is garbage. This is not remotely helpful. I still don't think they're very good, to be honest, unless it's like, I need someone who's worked in customer service and the following keywords have to be on their resume. And if they're not, then they're not qualified because they have to be an actual pharmacist and they have to have worked with this drug and this drug. And if they've not done those things, then I can't talk to them.
Right.
Or you're having AI create like a pre-screening questionnaire that they have them fill out and answer those questions. So again, there's tools that can help, but you cannot remove the human interaction and the ability for humans to critically, and I'm going to use the word emotionally think. And
Exactly.
emotionally probably isn't the right word, but there's something there that's creating that connection that this
Yeah.
could be really, really good.
Right.
Also, in having performance conversations, and everybody I know uses AI to write emails, right? I need to write an email to say X, Y, and Z. Like,
Mhm.
if you're giving somebody hard news or performance information, don't just have AI write an email and then hit send. You're not saying what's going on that's causing this issue?
Right.
Or are you okay? Or is there something you need that you're not getting that's causing you to have X, Y, and Z happen? So yeah, it's effective from a speed standpoint. It can be utterly ineffective and detrimental to relationships.
Absolutely. Yeah, and it can be critical to the company's growth as well, obviously depending on
Yes.
the person and the role that how it can be impacting the business and it could send that person right over to the competition as well.
Yep. I saw something on LinkedIn not that long ago that an employee posted that their manager used ChatGPT to write them a message, and they forgot to take out on the bottom where it said, "Would you like this to be shorter?" Or, the prompts at the end, like, "How do you want me to edit this?" They were like,
Oh
seriously?
goodness. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, because we're not rereading these things. That's so funny, but also sad a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate the time today. Give me the ways that everyone can reach out to you for for your help and expertise. So give us a little plug on how to get a hold of you, and I'll get you up on our Instagram and our YouTube channel very soon.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Kimberly. So you can find me at thrivehrkc.com. If you enjoy listening to me on podcasts, I have a Facebook page called Thrivewire where I post all of my podcasts. And my email's kelly at thrivehrkc.com. Excited to connect with others and talk more about HR and people. Thank you so much
Absolutely.
for having me.
Thank you so much, Kelly. It's a pleasure. We'll talk soon.
Okay.
Thanks again for joining us on Exec Edge today.